the Huawei Google Nexus 6P. Before we start the review, you gotta ask, why did I grab this phone? Well, I had a visitor coming from outside of Europe looking for a cheap phone. Why does it matter where in the world they came from? Cell bands. Different parts of this world operate on different bands. Most Android phones are designed for single regions. But let's say you head over to the US. Goodbye 4G LTE. Maybe you'll fall back onto a 3G connection. Most likely, you're going to be stuck on a 2G network, so you're going to be dealing with slow speeds. Most iPhones, on the other hand, they don't have this problem. Apple has designed the majority of their phones to be international phones, designed to travel the world. So then, what I was looking for was an international Android phone. And yes, they exist. The Huawei 6P international variant being one of these. You're watching Gizmo, and Gizmo buys used. You know that. Grabbed it for 80 euros. Great condition, with a pretty good battery. Holds up for about a day, under normal use. Let's talk about this phone. The last released phone in Google's Nexus line of phones. This is Android. No nonsense. No bloat. Pure, simple Android. The bloat, the lack of support, that's what drove me and many others away from the Android platform. Many are no stranger to the typical Android experience. Short or even non-existent support cycles, leading to afternoons trying to figure out how to install a somewhat stable version of Lineage OS onto it, if you can. Nexus is on a guaranteed minimum 2-year feature update cycle, followed by another year of security updates. Now in the world of Android phones, not bad. Do remember though, Apple, as much flack as it gets, they're still putting out updates for their 5-year-old iPhone 5S. Now do keep in mind that Google has listed these update cycles as minimums, so who knows. Now back to the phone. What a fantastic phone. With that large, solid, aluminum body. Premium feel that's smooth to the touch. Maybe a little bit too smooth. I recommend if you get this phone, get yourself a case with a grip if you don't want it to be sliding away. That large AMOLED screen with a high 1440 by 2560 resolution looks fantastic. In my opinion, it could be a little bit brighter out in daylight. But that's not to say that it isn't very clear and easy to see in most lighting situations. And yeah, this thing is huge. At least that's what I thought at first. Until I used it for a good day. And that added screen space, that added size, kind of just became the comfortable norm. Turns out, this phone isn't huge. It's just that all other phones are kind of tiny. And it's got a ridge. Yeah, that little ridge where the camera sits, along with that laser, can be a little bit of a minor annoyance. It does mean that your phone is not going to sit flush against the desk. It doesn't bother me too much. Personally, I would have preferred that they just make the phone a little bit thicker, maybe give it a little bit of a bigger battery, or who knows what else. That Gorilla Glass 4 on that screen, it makes it a durable screen. As much as I trust Gorilla Glass 4, I still make it a habit to throw a tempered glass screen onto it. And what about processing power? A Cortex A53 and A57 octa-core processor gives you plenty of speed when you need it, and it's going to help that battery life stay under control. I had no complaints, very smooth, very fast, does everything I needed to. Comes in 128, 64, and 32 gig internal storage variants. Now this one, it's the 32 gig version, the smallest. Unfortunately, there's no SD card slot, so what you get is what you have. In my opinion, with the abundance of cloud services, I find that onboard storage is pretty much a non-issue these days. Now that camera, I like it. The laser focus, instant. I really mean it. You take a photo, it'll be sharp. Now it doesn't quite match the quality of the camera on my Lumia 930. But it's pretty close. Now for video capture, although you can film in 4K resolution with sharp detail and some pretty vibrant colors, the lack of optical stabilization is immediately noticeable. So if that bothers you, just keep that in mind. And what else? The fingerprint reader. on the back. It's actually very comfortable to use. Finger goes right over it. It's instant. You touch it, you're logged in. Works flawlessly, in my experience. All in all, this is a really nice phone. Of course, better than anything you're gonna find for 80 euros brand new. When we're talking about the Nexus series, it is truly an example of what Android has to be across the board. A solid phone with no bloatware and a decent support cycle. Now Google, they've said that they're not killing off the Nexus line yet, stating that they don't want to close the door completely, but there's no plan right now to do more Nexus devices. Now Google, I don't know what you're talking about, because you have the Google Pixel out now. It's kind of the same premise, only without the third-party manufacturer name plastered over the phone. Of course, I do hope you enjoyed this review. If you did like it, do go ahead and hit that like button, and if you didn't, it doesn't hurt to hit it anyway. Otherwise, no matter where you are in this world, do remember to have a good day, a good night, and a good morning. Bye-bye.